pick up where we left off. Title of the next chapter is The Woods Are Alive. Somewhere around the boring part where the guy named Rolf and the oldest daughter are singing, "You are 16, going on 17. Jack nudged me. "Dude, I've got to pee," he said. We both got up and kind of hopscotched over the kids who were sitting or lying down on the sleeping bags. Summer waved as we passed, and I waved back. There were lots of kids from other schools walking around by the food trucks, playing in the carnival games, or just hanging out. Of course, there was a huge line for the toilets. "Forget this. I'll just find a tree," Jack said. "That's gross, Jack. Let's just wait," I answered. But he headed off for the row of trees at the edge of the field, which was past the orange cones that we were specifically told not to go past. And of course, I followed him. And of course, we didn't have our flashlights because we forgot to bring them. It was so dark now, we literally couldn't see 10 steps ahead of us as we walked toward the woods. Luckily, the movie gave off some light. So when we saw a flashlight coming toward us out of the woods, we knew immediately it was Henry, Miles, and Amos. I guess they hadn't wanted to wait in line to use the toilets either. Miles and Henry were still not talking to each other, talking to Jack, but Amos had let go of that war a while ago, and he nodded hello to us as they walked past. "Be careful of the bears," shouted Henry, and he and Miles laughed as they walked away. Amos shook his head at us like, "Don't pay any attention to them." Jack and I walked a little further until we were just inside the woods. Then Jack hunted around for the perfect tree and finally did his business, though it felt like he was taking forever. The woods were loud with strange sounds and chirps and croaks, like a wall of noise coming out of the trees. Then we started hearing loud snaps not far from us, almost like a cap gun pops that definitely weren't insect noises. And far away, like in another world, we could hear raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens. That's a song in the movie. "Oh, that's much better," Jack said, zipping up. "Now I have to pee," I said, which I did on the nearest tree. No way I was going further in like Jack did. "Do you smell that? Like firecrackers," he said, coming over to me. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what that is," I answered, zipping up. "Weird. Let's go." Alien is the title of the next chapter. We headed back the way we came, in the direction of the giant screen. That's when we walked straight into a group of kids we didn't know. They'd just come out of the woods doing stuff I'm sure that they didn't want their teachers to know about. I could smell the smoke right now, the smell of both firecrackers and cigarettes. They pointed a flashlight at us. There were 6 of them, 4 boys and 2 girls. They looked like they were in the 7th grade. "What school are you from?" one of the boys called out. "Beecher Prep," Jack started to answer. Then all of a sudden, one of the girls started screaming. "Oh my goodness," she screamed. "Oh my goodness." She was holding her hand over her eyes while she was crying. I figured maybe a huge bug had flown into her face or something. "No way," one of the boys cried out, and he started flicking his hands in the air like he just touched something hot. And then he covered his mouth. "No freaking way, man. No freaking way." All of them started half laughing and half covering their eyes now, pushing each other and cursing loudly. "What is that?" said the kid who was pointing with the flashlight at us, and it was only then I realized that the flashlight was pointing right in my face. And what they were talking about, screaming about, was me. "Let's get out of here," Jack said to me, and he pulled me by the sweatshirt sleeve and started walking away from them. "Wait, wait, wait," yelled the guy with the flashlight, cutting us off. He pointed the flashlight right in my face again, and now he was only about 5 feet away. Oh man," he said, shaking his head, mouth wide open. "What happened to your face?" "Stop it, Eddie," said one of the girls. "I didn't know we were watching Lord of the Rings tonight," he said. "Look, guys, It's Gollum. This made his friends hysterically laugh. Again, we tried to walk away from them, and again the kid named Eddie cut us off. He was at least a head taller than Jack, who was about a head taller than me, so the guy looked huge to me. No, no, man, it's alien, said one of the other kids. No, 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 man, it's an orc, laughed Eddie, pointing the flashlight to my face again. This time he was right in front of us. Leave him alone, okay? Said Jack, pushing the hand holding the flashlight away. Make me, answered Eddie, pointing the flashlight in Jack's face now. What's your problem, dude? Said Jack. Your boyfriend's my problem. Jack, let's go, I said, pulling him by the arm. Oh, man. It talks, screamed Eddie, shining the flashlight in my face again. Then one of the other guys threw a firecracker at our feet. This just hurts my heart to read this. This is awful. Jack tried to push past Eddie, but Eddie shoved his hands into Jack's shoulders and pushed him hard, which made Jack fall backwards. Eddie, screamed one of the girls. Look, I said, stepping out in front of Jack and holding my hands up in the air like a traffic cop. We're a lot smaller than you guys. Are you talking to me? Freddy Krueger? I don't think you want me to mess with you, said Eddie, and then he was at the point where I knew I should run away as fast as I could, but Jack was still on the ground and I wasn't going to leave him behind. Yo, dude, said a nice voice behind us. What's up, man? Eddie spun around and pointed his flashlight toward the voice. For a second, I couldn't believe who it was. Leave them alone, dude, said Amos, with Miles and Henry right behind him. Says who? Said one of the guys with Eddie. Just leave them alone, dude, Amos repeated calmly. Are you a freak too? Said Eddie. They're all a bunch of freaks, said one of the friends. Amos didn't answer, but looked at us. Come on, guys, let's go. Mr. Tushman's waiting for us. I knew that was a lie, but I helped Jack up and we started walking over to Amos. Then, out of the blue, the Eddie guy grabbed my hood as I passed by him, yanking it really hard, so I was pulled back and fell flat on my back. It was a hard fall. I hit my elbow pretty hard on a rock. I couldn't really see what happened afterwards, except that Amos rammed into the Eddie guy like a monster truck, and they both fell down to the ground next to me. Everything got really crazy after that. Someone pulled me up off by my sleeve and yelled, "Run!" And someone else screamed, "Get them!" At the same time, and for a few seconds, I actually had two people pulling the sleeves of my sweatshirt in opposite directions. I heard them both yelling until my sweatshirt ripped and the first guy yanked me by my arm and started pulling me behind him as we ran, which I did as fast as I could. I could hear footsteps just behind us chasing us and voices shouting and girls screaming, but it was so dark I didn't know whose voices they were, only that everything felt like they were underwater. We were running like crazy and it was pitch black, and whenever I started to slow down, the guy pulling my arm would yell, "Don't stop." Voices in the dark. Finally, after what seemed like forever of running, someone yelled, "I think we lost them." Amos? I'm right here, said Amos's voice a few feet behind us. We can stop, Miles yelled from further up. Jack, I yelled. Whoa, said Jack, I'm here. I can't see a thing. Are you sure we lost them? Henry asked, letting go of my arm. That's when I realized that he'd been the one who was pulling me. As we ran, yes, shh, let's listen. We all got super quiet, listening for footsteps in the dark. All we could hear were crickets and frogs and our own crazy panting. We were out of breath, stomachs hurting, bodies bent over our knees. We lost them, said Henry. Oh, that was intense. What happened to the flashlight? I dropped it. How did you guys know? Said Jack. We saw them before. They look like jerks. You just rammed into him, I said to Amos. I know, right? Amos laughed. He didn't even see it coming, said Miles. He was like, are you a freak too? And then like, bam, said Jack. Bam, said Amos, throwing his fake punch in the air. But after I tackled him, I was like, run, Amos, and you schmuck, he's 10 times bigger than you. And I got up and started running as fast as I could. And we all started laughing. I grabbed Augie and I was like, run, said Henry. I didn't even know no, it was you pulling me, I answered. That was wild, said Amos, shaking his head. Totally wild. Your lip is bleeding, dude. I got a couple of good punches, answered Amos, wiping his lip. I think they were seventh graders. They were huge. Losers, Henry shouted really loudly, but we all shushed him. We listened for a second to make sure no one had heard him. Then, where are we? Asked Amos. I can't even see the screen. I think we're in the cornfields, answered Henry. Oh no, we're in the cornfields, said Miles, pushing a cornstalk at Henry. Okay, I know exactly where we are, said Amos. We have to go back in this direction. That'll take us to the other side of the field. Yo, dude, said Jack, high hand in the air. That was really cool of you guys to come back for us. Really cool. Thanks. No problem, answered Amos, high-fiving Jack. And then Miles and Henry high-fived him too. Yeah, dudes, thanks, I said, holding my palm up like Jack just had, though I wasn't sure if any of them would high-five me too. Amos looked at me and nodded. It was cool how you stood your ground, little dude, he said, high-fiving me. Hey, Augie, said Miles, high-fiving me too. You were like, we're littler than you guys. I didn't know what else to say, I laughed. Very cool, said Henry. Then he high-fived me too. Sorry I ripped your sweatshirt. I looked down. My sweatshirt was completely torn in the middle. One sleeve was ripped off. The other was so stretched out it was hanging down to my knees. Hey, your elbow's bleeding, said Jack. Yeah, I shrugged. It's starting to hurt now a lot. You okay? Jack said, seeing my face. I nodded. Suddenly I felt like crying, and I was really trying hard not to do that. Wait, your hearing aids are gone, said Jack. What? I yelled. Oh no, touching my ears. The hearing aid band was definitely gone. That's why I felt like I was underwater. Oh no, I yelled. That's when I couldn't hold it anymore. Everything that had just happened kind of hit me and I couldn't help it. I started to cry, like a big crying. Like when Mom would call the waterworks. I was so embarrassed. I hid my face in my arm, but I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. The guys were really nice to me though. They patted me on the back. You're okay, dude. It's okay, they said. You're one brave little dude. You know that? Said Amos, putting his arm around my shoulders. And when I kept crying, he put both his arms around me like my dad would have done and let me cry. How long? Oh, I'm gonna read, let's see. I'm gonna read these. This is just a short chapter. The Emperor's Guard. We backtracked through the grass in a good 10 minutes to see if we could find my hearing aids, but it was way too dark to see anything. We literally had to hold on to each other's shirts and walk in a single file so we didn't trip over one another. It was like black ink had been poured all around. This is hopeless, said Henry. They could be anywhere. Maybe we can come back with a flashlight, answered Amos. No, it's okay, I said. Let's just go back. Thanks, though. We walked back toward the cornfields and then cut through them until the back of the giant screen came into view. Since it was facing away from us, we didn't get any light from the screen at all until we walked around the edge of the woods again. That's where we finally started seeing a little light. There was no sign of the seventh graders anywhere. Where do you think they went? Said Jack. Back to the food truck, said Amos. They're probably thinking that we're going to report them. Are we? Asked Henry. They looked at me. I shook my head. Okay, said Amos, but little dude, don't walk around here alone again, okay? If you need to go somewhere, tell us and we'll go with you. Okay, I nodded. As we got closer to the screen, I could hear high on a hill was a lonely gathered, which is another song. High on a hill. And I could smell the cotton candy from one of the concession stands near the food trucks. There were lots of kids milling around in this area, so I pulled what was left of my hoodie over my head and kept my face down, hands in pockets, as we made our way through the crowd. It had been a long time since I'd been out without my hearing aids, and it felt like I was miles under the earth. It felt like that song Miranda used to sing to me. Ground control to Major Tom. Your circuit's dead. There's something wrong. I did notice as I walked that Amos had stayed right next to me, and Jack was close on the other side of me, and Miles was in front of me, and Henry was in back of us. They were surrounding me as we walked through the crowds of kids, like I had my own Emperor's Guard. And we'll pick up with Sleep, which is the next chapter.